Would you let your worst enemy, your bully, come into your home and start ravishing through your stuff, going through all of your, things and throwing things and beating things up? And would you let that happen? No, you'd probably call the police or you'd kick them out of your house, right? So why are you letting your inner critic, your worst enemy, your bully, do that up in here? Why are you allowing that? Welcome to another Morning Musings, where I jump on camera first thing in the morning and talk about any topic that is resonating with me at this time. And this week, I haven't made a Morning Musings yet, and it's the end of the week. I've just been very busy. For those of you that don't know, or don't know me, or have never been to the channel, I am making a huge move in the next couple of weeks. I have packed up and sold a bunch of my stuff, packed up the rest of it, and I am deciding to travel for the next 6 months to a year, and finally going to be living out my dream. It has been my dream for so long, and I'm finally at a place in my life where I am confident and self-assured and self-aware and strong enough to go after what I truly, truly want, my truest heart's desires. Anyways, this week I've been thinking a lot about how you and I are our own worst bullies. Yeah, you heard that right. You're your own worst bully. Think about it. If you really think about it, who do you speak to the most in your life? If you thought that you speak to your spouse the most, your children, maybe one of your parents or your siblings, your best friend, you're wrong. You speak to yourself the most. Think about how many thoughts go through your mind every day. We have thousands of thoughts that run through our minds like crazy throughout the day. That is us speaking to ourselves. And when I'm referring to the bully, I'm referring to what I call your inner critic. Your inner critic is there for a reason. Years ago, several years ago, our ancestors sort of needed this inner critic to push them to be productive and to protect themselves, and for this need to be accepted into their tribe, right? But nowadays, in 2020, in the 21st century, our inner critics as a society tend to overpower our minds. And with all of the media out there and all of the social media and the pressure to be perfect, our inner critic has definitely become our enemy. So when I refer to your inner critic, I also mean, the thoughts that go through your mind that are harsh, the one that's like, you're fat, or you need to get your act together and clean up your house. You aren't good enough. You're not doing that right. You're not being productive enough. You're dumb. Why would you say that? The inner critic causes more harm than good, because when we are so critical of ourselves, it makes us too afraid to go out and try new things. It pushes us down to the point where we don't end up even trying at all. If you're told so many times, it's almost like you're being battered and abused to the point where you no longer even want to try, because even when you try, it doesn't seem like it's going to be good enough, right? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, I personally know that that voice all too well, because being someone who suffers with social anxiety, it is a lot louder and a lot more frequent for someone like me and someone like you who might have social anxiety or really extreme sense of shame. So if you've been through any type of trauma or abuse, you would recognize what I mean by this extreme case of your inner critic and bully. A way that I like to teach the women in my Radically Reinvent Yourself program on how to, lower the inner critic and combat the inner critic is to have self-worth, build up your self-esteem and your self-worth. Because when you realize that you are worthy and that you are enough, and that when you do try new things, that even if you don't succeed and you aren't the best at something, that it's okay, and you have enough self-worth and you know that you are enough just as you are. So if you don't succeed, you're still going to survive and you're going to be okay. And also, loving and respecting yourself, getting yourself to the point where you love and respect yourself enough that you want to clean your home, that you want to work out, that you want to eat healthier. See what I mean by this? But the main thing that I want to say today and that I teach in the program is really setting boundaries with your inner critic. So think of your inner critic as, a friend of yours or a relationship that you've had that has gone south, one that's really starting to be rude to you, a friend that's really taking advantage of you. And how you would approach that situation, how would you approach that relationship? And in my program, I teach women to, one, write a letter to your inner critic, and really set up those boundaries and just put a stop to it and say, hey, listen, you were once really helpful to me because you helped me, you helped motivate me and you helped encourage me to the point where it would motivate me. But now you've really gone out of control and I'm starting to feel like this is an abusive relationship. And I want to put a stop to this and I will not put up with this anymore. And I know this sounds silly, like thinking that you're writing a letter to your own voice in your own head. But honestly, the power of written letters can really change the way that you speak to yourself, because you're almost subconsciously telling yourself by writing this letter, like, hey, listen up, I'm talking to you, and I'm not just talking to you in my head, I'm writing it down, so it's really solidifying what I mean, and I mean it. So writing a letter and really putting those boundaries up with your inner critic, that would be the first step. And the second step would be to do the catch and switch method, which is a method that I'm sure other people use a similar method. I've just coined it the way that I do it. I've coined it the catch and switch. So for me, it's kind of a two-step process. So the first step would be to catch yourself as much as you can throughout the day. Catch yourself when you have a negative thought and when you're being hard on yourself and you hear your little inner bully bullying you. Catch that little bastard and stop him in his tracks or her tracks and say, hey, and then say the opposite. Okay? Don't beat up on your inner critic. Don't fight back in the sense of, telling it to F off. Two wrongs don't make a right. If someone punches you in the face and if you punch back, it ends up being this altercation that could really blow way out of proportion and way out of control. So what we want to do is we want to combat our inner bully by being compassionate to ourselves. Instead, take what your inner critic is trying to say and say the opposite to yourself. So if your inner critic is saying, hey, you're fat and lazy, say, no, actually, you're just tired, but you're beautiful and you'll get to it later. If your inner critic is saying, you can't do that because you're gonna fail and you're not good enough, don't even try, say, yeah, I might not be great at what I'm about to do, but I know that even if I am not great, I'm still awesome. See what I mean by that? Like just changing the dialogue with yourself instead of, completely telling it to F off, because you do need that inner critic for motivation. There is a purpose for it biologically. So you don't want to completely eradicate it. What you want to do is you want to change the way it communicates with you and the way you communicate with yourself, right? So you want to put up boundaries with it so that you're standing your ground, and that's kind of prepping you for this next step of catch and switch. So when you do the catch and switch, like I said, catch the negative thought and reframe it into something that is more useful to you, something that is more compassionate, something that, will still get you moving and get you going, but is the more compassionate, kind, motivating, non-critical version. I really hope that you will try this out. I hope that you will implement this into your life, because ladies, there's nothing more important than the dialogue in our head, right? Because like I said, you talk to you the most out of anyone in your entire life, for the rest of your life, for all of your life. And you need to get that conversation under control. Because I don't know about you, but I'm really hard on myself sometimes. And I like to use the analogy of, would you let your worst enemy, your bully, come into your home and start ravishing through your stuff, going through all of your, things and throwing things and beating things up? And would you let that happen? No, you'd probably call the police or you'd kick them out of your house, right? So why are you letting your inner critic, your worst enemy, your bully, do that up in here? Why are you allowing that? I don't know. I allowed that stupid little bully to bully me for as long as I can remember. And it still creeps up. It still creeps up. It is a process. It doesn't just change overnight. I have to constantly, even after years of trying this and doing this, yes, it's improved immensely. And that is why I've gotten to a place where I am a lot more confident, and I can push myself to do things that I used to think were scary. And I can wake up every morning and work out, and I am more organized. All of those things, right? It has worked. But trust me, ladies, I still have the issue. I'm always going to have this issue. It's my inner critic. It's always going to be there. Like I said, it's a biological response that we have in our minds in order to protect us. But we have to make sure that it doesn't get out of control. We have to put up boundaries, right? And for me, it's been even more difficult because, like I said, I have social anxiety, and that's a whole nother level of like bully, you know what I mean? And so for you ladies who also struggle with chronic shame or social anxiety, I want you to know you're not alone. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me, because I'm always here to help. And if you want to know more about my Radically Reinvent Yourself program, please do not hesitate to check out the link below. I've put it there for you. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you've learned something from this. I hope it's inspired you to be kinder, more gentle to yourself, and to really put those boundaries in place with your inner critic. Get that bully under control, because you so deserve it. You are enough. You are worthy, and you aren't what your inner critic is telling you. You are whatever you choose to be. What are you going to choose to be? Are you going to choose to put up boundaries? Are you going to choose to be compassionate to yourself? I hope so, because you are a beautiful warrior queen and you deserve it. You deserve the life of your dreams. And the only way that you're going to get there is if you build that relationship with yourself and heal yourself, love yourself. Okay, and I'm here to help empower you. I'm an empowerment coach. I'm going to empower you to do that for yourself, whether it's through the Radically Reinvent Yourself program, whether it's through coaching with me, or whether it's just watching my content or joining my private Facebook group called Girl Don't Settle. There's also a link below for that. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more content just like this right into your inbox. Make sure that you press the bell icon and like this video if you felt it was helpful to you, and please share it with any women that you think could really hear this today. All right, I love you. I hope you have a beautiful day. Mwah.